My name is Ifeoma. I am 22 years old and come from a wealthy family in the affluent areas of Lagos. My father, 64 years old, is an influential man, a member of the government, one of those who have shaped the country. He has everything: money, power, and connections. Since I was a little girl, I've always been under his wing, admiring this life of luxury, those first-class trips to Brussels, Paris, New York. Every holiday, it was the same, a routine of luxury I had become used to. In our household, everything was orchestrated with precision: a personal chauffeur, villas scattered around the world, five-star hotels. I am the eldest and my father's favorite among my three siblings. Then one day, everything changed. That day, my father called me into his office. It wasn't unusual, but he had a more serious look than usual. Sitting in front of him, I still remember the conversation that changed my life forever. "Ifeoma, do you love me?" he asked in a gentle voice. "Yes, Daddy, of course. I love you. You are the man I love the most in the world," I replied without hesitation. "And do you love the life we lead, the travels, the luxury, all these beautiful things I give you?" "Yes, Daddy. I adore all of them. Thank you for everything." He smiled, but something strange flickered in his eyes. Then he continued, "You know, my daughter, all these things come with a price. Nothing is free in this world." I was confused. What price? Everything seemed so perfect, so easy. "I am part of a mystical group, Ifeoma," he revealed after a long silence. "All these privileges we have, they come with sacrifices. And now, it's your turn to make a choice. If you want this life to continue, you must help me. Otherwise, everything will fall apart. I will die, and we will become poor." I stared at him, the words swirling in my head, unable to comprehend. For the first time, I saw my father cry, tears streaming down his face. "But, how, Daddy? The group demands that I conceive a child with you, my first daughter." My stomach churned. My own father, conceive a child with me? It was unthinkable. I stood up, trembling, unable to understand what he had just said. He calmed me with a gentleness that terrified me. "You have 1 month to think, Ifeoma. I won't force you, but know that if you refuse, I will die, and you will lose everything. You will live like beggars." His words hit me like a punch. My own father, a child with me? How was it possible? I was lost, completely shaken. I couldn't eat or sleep for days. I couldn't stop thinking, tormented by the thought. How could I refuse anything to the man who had given me everything? A man who had always been there for me, who made me who I am. How could I let him die? At 22, I had never done anything by myself. Every task was handled by someone else. And the idea of living in poverty without all these privileges, it was unbearable. I had seen how the poor lived, in the streets, their misery, their struggle for every little comfort. Could I really accept such a life? No, it was impossible. I had never known lack. So, what was I supposed to do? 1 month later, I made my decision. I accepted. The first encounters with my father were strange, disturbing. But deep down, there was an emotion I couldn't define. This man, my father, was everything to me. He was my hero, the man I had always admired. Over time, these forbidden encounters took a different turn. I found myself not waiting for him to come to me. It was I who sought him. I was almost in love with my father. We continued like this for months until I became pregnant. It was a shock for me, but also a liberation. We found an excuse. I told everyone it was an imaginary boyfriend from university who got me pregnant before fleeing. No one ever questioned it. And thus, Kaleka was born, a child hidden from the truth of this forbidden union. But even after Kaleka's birth, the encounters didn't stop. On the contrary, every month, my father came to see me, and we resumed. It was part of the pact. He told me he could stop at any moment, but I had to know what would happen if we stopped. He would die, and we would lose everything. The only way to maintain our dream life was to continue. Today, Kaleki is 5 years old. He believes his grandfather is just a protective and caring man. He has no idea of what really goes on. But I can't continue anymore. I want a normal life. I want to meet someone, marry, and have a real family. Yet each time I think about stopping, I see my father's face and feel this crushing weight on my shoulders. He tells me he will never force me, but I know that if I stop, I will lose him. I am trapped. I am a prisoner of this cursed pact, and yet a part of me has never been able to break this strange, unhealthy bond.